All right, Piss and Vinegar Day 66, I think, back, and Delts. So today's topic is the vertical diet. And this is a diet I've been doing for a while now. I like to adhere to everything logical in life, whether it be exercise science and using high intensity because that's the most logical, whether it be using the philosophy of stoicism to get through the days. These different things, I like to adhere to logic in all things, as this is the closest thing to being a man. I mean, the most important thing in life for being a man is being logical, numero uno, and then everything else falls into place. Now, the vertical diet is probably the most logical diet I've seen so far. It just cuts all the crap. It gives you exactly what you need to do, and it's relatively minimalistic. It's super easy to follow, and there's a few tidbits in there that are actually quite good. So really, with the vertical diet, you're eating basically the most bang for your buck foods for the macronutrients and the micronutrients you're looking for. So it covers every single basis. That's the main thing about the vertical diet. The main thing about the vertical diet, Stan Efferding, incredible mind, incredibly gifted with words, for one. Like, you can tell through his vocabulary that he's an intelligent guy. He flows like he's the opposite of me. My flow is pretty shit when I talk. He sounds like he's reading from a script when he talks. Like, he's that kind of IQ level. So he's big brain, and he got a lot of good nutritional scientists on that book, including Ray Peat, who's a genius in his own right. So that's one of the first things, is the accolades for the vertical diet are very solid. And it was designed first and foremost to get every nutritional basis hit. So a lot of diets, especially fad diets such as keto, Atkins, carnivore, veganism, etc. The problem with these diets is they can work, but they're much harder to work because a lot of times there are gray areas, there are loopholes, or there are holes in your diet where you're not getting certain micronutrients. If you're a vegan, it's so many, right? It's zinc, it's B12, it's collagen, it's a whole host of nutrients that vegans aren't getting. Carnivores, a little bit better, obviously, but there are certain micronutrients that they aren't getting, namely vitamin C. Now, the argument is awful, but that's a different video for a different day. But the vertical diet is designed to have every single micronutrient covered through a wide array of different foods. And these foods give you specific micronutrients, and they're the most bang for the buck for getting that micronutrient, and the easier to adhere to. Some of these foods obviously don't have the most micronutrients relative to other counterparts, but like some exotic fruit to try and get more vitamin C over, say, just orange juice is not logical, because some exotic fruit is going to be much harder to outsource. But I'll put a photo up now of the vertical diet, and with the vertical diet, you'll see that essentially the basis of the carbs is sweet potatoes, and rice, nothing else, because anything else will potentially give you digestive stress, which leads me to my next point, which is that the vertical diet is perfect for guys trying to gain weight. Now, that's not really an issue for me personally. I gain weight really easily, and I don't fully adhere to the vertical diet. I just use it as a cornerstone, as a basis to get where I need to be, and then some things I add to it that ideally wouldn't be put into the vertical diet. But one of the things is the idea of eating low FODMAP foods and avoiding foods like, say, garlic and onions, or these high FODMAP foods that will make it harder to digest, and thus you'll feel fuller and for longer because you'll be gassy, which is great if you're cutting weight. But if you're trying to gain weight, you want to digest food as quickly as possible so that you're ready for the next meal very quickly, within 2-3 hours. You want to be eating pretty frequently when you're bulking up. Most people, at least. Personally, no problem, but for like ectomorphs or fast metabolisms. So it was designed by Stan Efferding, who was a strongman, powerlifter, bodybuilder, and then adopted by some elite strongmen like Brian Shaw and Hafthor Bjornsson, because it was perfect for these guys trying to consume like 10,000 calories a day. So it's extremely good for guys trying to gain weight, but it's also great for people who are just generally trying to be healthy, because it's super easy to follow. And I'd highly suggest reading the book, because the book will describe everything that I'm trying to describe in my fucked up kind of way, because I'm all over the place. But you should, if you are interested in a super logical diet that will most definitely make you a far healthier, far more consistent person, and you're having a hard time adhering to a diet, the vertical diet will 100% be for you. It is so much easier to adhere to than going into a diet blindly. A lot of people don't have kind of a benchmark for what they're eating. Like people will count their calories and proteins sometimes, but then they won't count their carbs, fats, micronutrients, minerals, etc. And without counting them, if you just kind of adhere to the general principles of the vertical diet, you will generally get the nutrients you need. Granted, you're not in like a massive caloric deficit. So the carbohydrates are rice and potatoes. Essentially the best carbs you can have. They have the best micronutrient profile relative to like pasta and wheat sources that are just like inflammatory and are generally just empty calories. And then for the meat sources, you don't eat chicken breast. You don't eat chicken anymore because chicken has less micronutrients and less essential amino acids. And so when you're eating on the vertical diet, you eat red meat because it just gives you that little extra benefit. Every percentage counts, right? So if you're eating 500 grams of steak every day, that's giving you like a 2-3% increase in micronutrient, which is then increasing your health and strength markers by a potential percentage. So every little percentage counts. And then there's a whole host of other foods like yogurt, Greek yogurt, nuts, orange juice, raw carrots, and then it goes into the vegetables that you want to be eating, the most bang for your buck vegetables. The book has like different kind of meals you can have, like different sort of recipes. I've found a few myself, and I might even make videos in the future on different kind of vertical diet recipes I've done. But the diet in general is exceptional for those who are just having a hard time sticking to their diet. And maybe you might not know a hell of a lot about nutritional science. Like I know a decent amount just because it's something that interests me. But for someone that doesn't know anything about nutrition, there are literally just like sample diets in the book that you can just follow. Like there'll be like a 1,500 calorie diet, 1,700 calorie, 2,000 calorie, 2,200, 2,500, all the way up to like 10,000 calorie staple diets, and you can just follow it to a T, and you'll be guaranteed to be in the correct calorie, macronutrient ratio, and micronutrient ratio for your goals. So yeah, I've had a lot of clients do this. I've had a few mates who have a hard time gaining weight do this, and they've all had exceptional results. And it works decently in a cut too, because the diet is meant to make you hungry, which would make you then think, well, that's counterintuitive if you're trying to lose weight. But because the diet is so micronutrient dense, you feel less hungry when you're in a deficit, because part of being a deficit, one of the issues with deficits isn't just the food volume, because there's plenty of food volume tricks out there nowadays to, eat way more food while still eating fuck all calories. But none of that shit works because your body knows there's no nutrients in that shit. Whereas when you're on the vertical diet, you're actually getting a decent amount of micronutrients. So part of you feeling weaker, tired, hungry on a weight cut is your micronutrient deficiencies. There's no real way around it, because you'll never get the micronutrients that you need in a cut unless you're like eating in a maintenance or surplus and then overcompensating with the cardio like massively. But that's a whole different thing, and that's kind of counterintuitive. But the vertical diet will give you the best bang for your buck even in a cut, which will actually make you feel less hungry. It helped me massively during my weight cut. Previously, I would try to do keto in weight cuts, and it was just never really sustainable because keto, for one, you lose a lot of strength and sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, and generally just you lose a lot of size because you have no glycogen in the muscle. You're running on ketones, and that's great for satiation, but I like carbs, and your brain runs on carbs, and the brain is well studied to run better on carbohydrates than ketones for at least a very large percent of the population, unless you have like serious epilepsy or something. But again, I digress. So yeah, the vertical diet, if you haven't checked it out, you really should. There are so many tidbits in that book, and it's it's an easy read. I have a hard time reading. I'm kind of short attention span. The book, if a book has like too small font, I don't like reading. I like big font because you know, it's easier to read. It feels like I'm reading quicker or something. So this book's like perfect for a retard like me, where it's got big font, it's not too long, it's got pictures, it's written by Stan Effing, who's like a intellectual meathead. So it's written for a meathead like me, but intelligently. So he's kind of talking, it's not like super scientific in a sense. So I don't know, it's just a great book, and the diet has helped me a lot, and it's a logical diet, and I like all things logical. So yeah, check it out if you're struggling with a diet, or if you just want to read something. I really enjoyed that book. So yeah, back in rear delts, there was something today that I wanted to touch on in my training that I forgot what it was. Oh well, can't remember what it was, but anyway. Any more points that I've missed on the vertical diet? Another point is, with the vertical diet, if you are someone that suffers from digestive issues, it will help you a lot. The low FODMAP food options seriously helps with digestion issues. So yeah, if you're having a hard time digesting things, you have gas, bloating, things of that nature, which makes it hard to gain weight when you're trying to bulk because you're fuller for longer, the vertical diet will help you immensely fix up those gut issues. Among a bunch of other nutritional things that are in that book, like probiotics from yogurt, or iodine from cranberry juice, or orange juice with every meal to keep insulin high, but with carbohydrates to keep it stable. Just a bunch of little tidbits are incredible. Raw carrots for producing certain enzymes that will help with your kidney health, liver health. A bunch of Ray Peat's influence is in that book. Doing a bit of posing. I'm actually starting to kind of be happy with my back gains. I've always had kind of a very mid back or average back, but I'm starting to kind of fill out my lats, rhomboids, traps and stuff. So all pretty happy with the bulk gains so far. I'm starting to get a little fluffier. It's starting to show, but through training my obliques, funnily enough, my obliques have offset some of the damage that the fat on my stomach has created, because the obliques have created more shape to my abdomen by developing them. So again, if you're not training your obliques under the fear that it'll make your waist bigger, then you are missing out. It will actually give you the illusion of a smaller waist, because it will hold more of a shape or a shapely look to your midsection. So big benefits from training the obliques so far. Trying a new pose today too. Never tried this one before. I tried it before, but I didn't know how to do it. Still don't know how to do it, but did it a bit better than I've done it before, and I don't know, it looked alright. I was happy with the way it looked. My delts are starting to blow up a little bit or a lot from this high intensity training. It's probably the biggest thing that's grown from training high intensity was my delts. Alright, see you guys tomorrow. Piss and Vinegar tomorrow. Bye bye.